Lots of Tesla stock news today. Let's start with this change. Tesla no longer lists AutoSteer on city streets as a coming soon feature. It had been listed as coming soon for the past 4 years. This might seem like a small change, but it's a big one, says Sawyer, and I agree. This indicates that Tesla is getting very confident in FSD's capabilities. Also, when Tesla sells full self-driving, it cannot recognize all of that revenue basically, and with more features coming to full self-driving, Tesla will be able to recognize more and more of that revenue, which will basically improve Tesla's profitability. Elon replied to Sawyer with a yup, and Sawyer said people really have no clue what's happening, can't wait for FSD version 12. You will absolutely love this next Tesla stock news story. Tesla is beating out rivals to win millions of dollars in federal grant awards for building roadside chargers, reports Wall Street Journal. Tesla's bids averaged around $392,000 a site, compared with an average of $795,000 from others. That's 51% less than their competitors. Tesla is not just beating their competition, Tesla is obliterating them. And despite Tesla's charging stations costing half as much to build, Tesla's chargers are actually much better. But interestingly, so far, Tesla is the winning bidder to build chargers at about 18% of the sites selected by states using the federal dollars to fund fast chargers, more than any other company, but still, it's only 18%. I wonder if that's because Tesla chooses not to even bid at some of these or for some of these other locations. Here's some data from 5 states, and in these specific states, Tesla is of course number 1, and then EVgo is number 2 at 15.9%, and then everyone else is just a lot less. When you are on a road trip, really only fast chargers matter, and Wall Street Journal reports that 3 out of 5 of all fast chargers are in Tesla's network, specifically in the US, based on the data from the government. And that earlier data seems to be from these 5 states: Ohio, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Maine, and Colorado. Another new detail about the refresh Model 3 is that the top speed has been reduced by about 20 miles an hour. It's still very fast, and I mean, in most parts of the world, you can't go fast. So instead of 140 miles an hour, it will be about 120 miles an hour. The reason the new Model 3 has a lower top speed is because in most parts of the world, you can't go over 80 miles an hour. So Tesla went with a different tire that improves comfort and efficiency, and it's not designed to go as fast. It's a sacrifice they decided to make, according to CarWow. I never need to go faster than about 80 miles an hour, so that is totally fine. You can still go much faster than that. If that gives me perhaps more range or a quieter and more comfortable ride, I think that's definitely the right choice. This at first appears like, not significant at all, but actually this is quite important, because remember that Tesla is having issues supposedly hiring people in Giga Berlin, but tomorrow is the day then the self-shuttle train is officially launched in Giga Berlin. It will run about 60 times a day from Monday to Friday, and plans to transport more than 1,500 employees per shift to the factory. When I hired people in Europe, transportation was an issue, and we even chose to relocate our office to be closer to important transportation hubs to improve accessibility to our potential employees, because hiring then just got a little bit easier. I don't think it matters as much in North America because everyone has their own car, but in Europe, even people that sometimes do all right, they choose not to have a car. James just shared this chart, and it is critical to understand really if you are a Tesla stock investor. He says, despite the aggressive price cuts in 2023 and 3 ramping factories, Texas, Berlin, and Lathrop, the one that makes the Megapacks, Tesla is still incredibly growing revenues faster than they are growing operating expenses, as you can see here. This is very strong cost management on display. And here's that same info, but the numbers, and these numbers are truly incredible. This is a real competitive advantage that Tesla has and will have in the future. From the beginning of the year until now, Tesla has cut the prices of Model S and X by about 30%. Look at it this way, they sold about 20,000 Model S's and X's in Q1. They cut the price by 30%. Will they sell 30% more of Model S and X's on an ongoing basis now? 25,000 per quarter? If so, maybe it makes sense, but previous cuts have shown as price elasticity isn't great. Here's also a reminder to everyone of what the interest rates did recently. Also, let's not forget that Tesla used to sell the Model S at $69,420, so the price really just going back to where it was supposed to be at. Also, a reminder to everyone that Elon Musk earlier promised that the Model 3 will be a $35,000 car. I think eventually we will get there. I understand there has been inflation, but I still think that we will get to that $35,000 number eventually. And in China, we are pretty much already there. We're just about $1,000 away from it. I have seen some estimates that suggest that Tesla will have a slower quarter this quarter than the previous quarter, but James is reminding everyone that Tesla's Q3 is always bigger, at least so far it has been, than Q2. Seems like Tesla has updated their website, and earlier I showed you guys how right here around this area seemingly there was a bumper camera, but now you can clearly see there's nothing. But if you look at these previous images that were just on Tesla's website earlier, you can clearly see there's something right here. So the current cars clearly will not have this bumper camera, but perhaps this is just temporary. Otherwise, why would these renders have these bumper cameras in them?
So then, what's my final verdict on the new Tesla Model 3? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, when you consider that the old Model 3 was still at the top of its game, this one is even better. So the verdict is easy. You should go right ahead and buy the new Model 3.
So overall, the refresh seems to have been a clear success so far. We had the website in China crash, and the guy from Carwow says you should go ahead and just buy it. Except that here in the US, you still can't. And in China, the website crashed, so also maybe you can't buy it there yet either. But as I'm recording, the website seems to be working just fine right now.
Wait a minute. I know this is a loud horn on the outside, but I'm not hearing it so much on the inside. So this soundproofing, already I can tell that it's improved over the old car. So definitely less tire noise. I can just tell it with my ears, and looking at the sound meter, it's just ever so slightly lower, but obviously decibels are logarithmic. So 1 or 2 decibels is quite a big deal actually. So the car is definitely quieter. Now we're going to redo the vibration test in the new Model 3. So we're on the same section of road. Already I can see that it's slightly lower. With the second reading, which is in the new car, this car, you can see that the lines are more consistently underneath the 5 mark. They have definitely improved the suspension. And one thing I always found with the Model 3 was that you got quite a bit of tyre noise just when you're coasting about, but it does seem more suppressed in this new car. Let's try the suspension out over that drain cover. It's all right. Average energy consumption 136 watt hours per kilometre, and I've just been driving normally. 4.57 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty blooming good. I mean, all the German cars that I've driven, say the i4 and the Mercedes EQE, don't get anywhere near that kind of level of efficiency. That's given me a range, a real world range of 342. Also, they've changed this, look, the armrest is longer. Cup holders there. Material quality, well, the feel of the materials is slightly better than before. In terms of like noise and comfort in the back, it's now up there with the Germans.
Stephen Mark Ryan just posted about Mexico and how he's expecting that construction will begin in 2024 and production in 2025. He also took the screenshot, which I believe is from Tesla Roddy, which suggests that Giga Mexico is scheduled to start vehicle production by Q1 in 2025. If that ends up materializing, I think that would be bullish right now, because Troy currently says, based on the latest drone video, ground wars at Giga Mexico have not started yet. Therefore, the earliest Giga Mexico can start making the compact car for the US market is now June 2025. The holdup is most likely related to permits. Now, permits to be translated to plain English when talking about Mexico, certainly would have nothing to do with someone not being paid under the table, right? And Troy has this incredibly useful table here in which he shares his best guess for when construction basically begins. It has been 214 days since the location has been confirmed and the groundwork has not begun yet in Giga Mexico. And you can see that overall for Giga Shanghai it took 540 days, Giga Texas 624 days, Giga Berlin 853, and Giga Mexico Troy is estimating it is going to take 820 days. Remember also that the factory is going to be completely different. We are going to make the next generation vehicle, so I think that's why Troy is estimating that this factory is not going to be any quicker really than any previous factory, even though Tesla supposedly has learned new things. But earlier this year, we had a rumor that Tesla is aiming to basically finish the factory in 9 months after groundwork begins. I think that's perhaps more of an internal goal, but if Tesla happens to actually achieve that, that would be very impressive. And Troy will then turn out to be a little bit too conservative here, but I think Troy's prediction here is reasonable. James just shared another chart which is absolutely crucial to understand for all Tesla stock investors. In red right here, these red bars represent Tesla's average selling price per vehicle. Then in gray here, you can see average cost per vehicle sold. And then this here shows you the average gross margin that Tesla has been experiencing during these times. And what you can see here, which is what many people are missing, I think James perhaps added this red dotted line. You can see that the average selling prices are going down, and you can see that the costs are also going down. Here are his key findings. Tesla has been able to grow gross margin percentage over time despite massively decreasing average selling prices. But as you can see right here, gross margins started to come down around Q2 of last year. What happened then? Well, James says both Berlin and Austin started operations pretty much at the same time. I think Tesla can still take a lot of costs out of their business just by ramping those factories. And in doing so, they will be allowed some flexibility on additional average selling price reductions if needed. But in order to bend that black line back up, they need to focus on either reducing production costs more aggressively or stabilizing average selling prices. Here's one thing that I would like to add and point out also. There is always going to be the next factory that Tesla is going to be ramping. After Giga Berlin and Giga Austin, there's going to be Giga Mexico, and then there's probably going to be some more expansion in China as well. Tesla is already building another Megapack factory in China. There's probably going to be another factory in Europe. So for the next 10 years, expect that we will always have the next thing that Tesla is investing heavily into. But overall, the trend, I believe, is going to be downwards in terms of cost reductions. And Tesla will be able to do it better than pretty much everyone else. I really like this news right here. This could be pretty common, maybe not, but it definitely happened here. I think what they are doing here is trying to upsell people like me in North America who had ordered a Model 3 before the Highland dropped and then decided to cancel it and wait. Worked on us, we can't be the only ones who upgraded because of these great prices. So this person probably ordered a Model 3, then canceled, and then just got a Model S instead. This is great. Some people said that the new Model 3 is not cheaper to produce. I think they just don't follow Tesla carefully. This is an article from Reuters on March 1st, and it accurately predicted when the refreshed Model 3 would be launched. It said the Highland version of the Model 3 is expected to go into production in Shanghai in September. With Highland, Tesla is aiming to cut production costs. So because they got the production date exactly right, I think this article is incredibly credible. The article also said that the projected start of production is October 2024 for the refreshed Model Y, codenamed Project Juniper. If you watched every single video of mine from before, this is old news. So if you missed it, make sure to subscribe. We got some more Tesla stock news. The Auto Park Summon and Smart Summon will be temporarily limited on your vehicle during the transition to Tesla Vision. Disclaimer: for parking features of enhanced Autopilot is gone for non ultrasonic sensor cars. That disclaimer used to be right here, and as you can see, it is now gone. This is a sign that Tesla is more confident about Tesla's vision for auto park summon and smart summon, but that smart summon is not smart at all. But with version 12, Elon has been promising that it will be actually smart. Seems like there's some work for Tesla's legal team in China. This post right here basically says that this competitor has this video out which supposedly displays that it is safer than the Tesla in terms of its automatic braking, I guess. And there's a dummy right here. And as you can see, the dummy is quite far away from the vehicle, but with a Tesla, it's pretty close. The dummy is basically thrown on the road, but it is thrown much earlier than the competitor is testing its car compared to the Tesla. And the result is the competitor stops, but Tesla actually hits the dummy. Obviously, this is an unfair test. And the post basically says that if you just watch it once and quickly, you probably won't notice the difference. It's only if you try to watch it carefully, you will notice that difference. Oh, this is cool. The new Tesla Model 3 washer fluid reservoir has been relocated to the very front of the hood for easier refilling. This is where it was before. You can see it was very close to the actual window. Each door on the new Tesla Model 3 has an extra latch at the bottom to improve occupant safety in the event of side impact. It is a third anchor point for the door, which increases rigidity and stability in a side impact. I think this is important for Tesla stock investors to understand. I just got a first-hand look into why vehicle sales are plummeting. Both my wife and I have an over 800 credit score, which is amazing. We got approved, but JP Morgan wanted our trade-in, a 2021 Model Y all-wheel drive, in which we had over $19,000 in equity plus another $10,000. So they wanted basically a $29,000 down payment, and they were going to buy a Model X, which is an $80,000 car. In other words, the bank asked them to put about, what, 35%, 36% down for this vehicle. So it's not just increased interest rates and higher monthly payments that are keeping people away from buying cars. It's also the huge down payments required. Now, I also understand that I think some banks are a little bit scared about giving loans for Tesla purchases because maybe they are thinking, oh, Tesla just cut prices this year like 30%, so maybe they are going to cut another 30%. I understand that thinking, but I think this also applies to other brands as well. I don't think it's just Teslas where the banks expect people to put down bigger down payments. These are some crazy numbers, but in the future, every country will look like this. August saw plug-in EVs at 90% market share in Norway, up from 86.1% a year ago. BEVs continue to gain ground, taking 83.5% share. August's best-selling vehicle was the Tesla Model Y. No surprise. The EV transition is coming and it is inevitable. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching this Elon Musk interview, watch this one first. My name is Matt Postius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.